All right, folks, we're back. We had an audio technical difficulty, and so we had to reset the whole system. So we're back online. The meeting was held up, so you didn't miss anything. This will probably just appear as a separate file that we'll have on YouTube.
Very much. I appreciate this. I think it's fantastic helping kids. Anybody volunteering, helping kids is a big deal. It makes a difference in a person's life. But I cannot remain silent on this one point. There's another group that I've been aware of for several years called the Tuskegee Airmen. It happens to be majority Black, but the thing that I remembered, it started with an airplane contest, and I got invited to go to an airplane class. I was like, what the hell is the airplane contest? They taught kids, young kids, how to get it. Excuse me, they taught young kids various things. And these are people that are pilots. These are people that have direct connections with people that were Tuskegee Airmen. I think it was, and these are ranking. These are people that maybe Dr. Fussell can add a little, because I did not come prepared to say this tonight, but I appreciate the second paragraph under the discussion, and it says, it names the various groups and more. I'd like to make an amendment on this item, the Tuskegee Airmen group. One of the things that this group has done, they have taken these kids and mentored them. Not one kid up to the age of 22 has ever had a problem with the law enforcement. And this is a big deal, not just because it is a person, organization Black. It isn't limited to people that are Black. It isn't limited to, recently, it isn't limited to, my understanding, men. But this is a group that does a lot more than give somebody an airplane ride. And I'm not derogatorily saying giving somebody an airplane ride, but it's an organization that has been here for, I believe, a couple of decades. And I think this is great. Recognize them, but I'm making an amendment, a motion for an amendment that this group get added here, and we can possibly bring them in and make a presentation. That's my comment, Chair.
Thank you.
I hope I can get a second on that amendment. Okay, there's a second. Chair, would you call for the vote?
Do we call for a vote on something like that? There's really no motion on the table. It's just received and filed.
I'd like, but I'm making it. I'm requesting to make an amendment to this item to have that included in this item. And I made a motion to. I may not have worded it correctly. And again, Chair, this is another issue where if there was an attorney here representing the city, oh boy, I swear, we could be. It'd be cleaner.
My recommendation is that we kind of add that maybe to a future agenda. The chairs have heard the recommendation, and we make that an item. The nice thing of what Jeanette is doing is this is a series. So that might be a topic of one of our interviews, and get some more information and make that one of our topics. Sounds like a great idea. So I think we've heard that. I think that's the appropriate thing. We will have that future discussion with the chairs as a future item.
Okay, if the second of my motion will agree to that, I'll withdraw my motion. Would you do that? Okay.
I'll just add, Councilmember Perello, that I spent 13 years writing a column on local veterans, and so the Tuskegee Airmen, just that hits close to home for me, and so I would be honored to involve that group in a locally based group that's tied to the Tuskegee Airmen and as part of the series. So that's not an issue for me. And it's not mentioned in there because it's not an endless list. It says and more because I anticipate that as the months and years pass that I'm here, I'm going to learn about countless organizazations that I wasn't aware of that contribute a great deal to this.
As I mentioned before, it was not a derogatory.
No, I appreciate that.
And as I mentioned before, I've known about this for a long time, and I'm not going to sit here and not say something.
I'm glad that you mentioned it.
And I do think that before the end of the week, we can have somebody touch base with you. You give me a phone number, I'll have somebody touch base with you.
Perfect. Will do. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ron, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you for this update. As Councilmember Dr. Martinez Bravo had mentioned, I anticipate in the future there may be folks who were involved in the interviewing or attended an event. And I think if we know that they plan to come or attend on Zoom, I would also, I see the value to having it up front so they could see it right away. And I know if my kids were involved right now, they already brushed their teeth and flossed. I'm not there. I'm assuming it's happened. but if I were there, it would have happened. And they would be getting ready for bed for the next day. And so just throwing that out there, especially if we have youth involved. But the heart of my comment that I wanted to say, my entire career has been spent in working directly with youth, especially youth who hail from challenged communities and families. And in resiliency theory, there's three tenets to that. One being high expectations of young people, another being caring relationships with peers and adults, and the third one being opportunities for meaningful participation. And this right here that you shared with us is a great example of that. Something that is tangible, that without this type of event, would those kids who attended have otherwise had that kind of opportunity to go? And the type or the benefit to having diverse types of opportunities is you never know who's going to be affected in what way from that one day they went to the airport and saw those planes, and now all of a sudden their trajectory changes because they were inspired that day. And that's the importance of meaningful opportunities. And the other two tenets are needed, but whether it be sports, whether it be exposure to aeronautics or to science, technology, engineering, math, the more opportunities we have for young people, the more likely it is that we're going to find something that stimulates them and inspires them. And so that's why we can't just put all our eggs in one basket. We have to diversify our portfolio, and this is a great example of that. So I want to thank you for highlighting this for us tonight, and to everyone who helped plan and put that together, because you never know how it can inspire and change a life on that day. So thank you.
Thank you. And I will, I'll say the events themselves are obviously fantastic, but they happen because of people like the volunteer pilots, Barb, and so many others that are part of both EA organizations, and also happen because we have the airports here that make it possible to host these events. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Public comment? Director, your report.
Okay, I've got a few items here. I'll start with a map I think we have. Just want to pass on, we have here at Camarillo, a runway pavement project. It's basically needed for the runway and taxiway Alpha. It's an interim fix, if you will. Basically, we're going to take the keel section about 8 feet wide, full length of the runway because of some pavement failures, and then a lot of significant work on Alpha. Again, it's to buy us time. We've got a larger project that will have some closures as significant or more that we did at Oxnard a few years ago. Night closures, daytime closures, things like that. But that's probably 2026, 27. This project, this interim project, is slated to start first quarter of next year is what we're looking at. First or second quarter of next year. So just want to put that out there. Again, there'll be night closures here. It's about a 6-8 week project. Taxiway Alpha will be closed longer than that, but the runway itself, for the majority of the daytime operations, will be operational. Next slide, you saw a discussion. This was the Oxnard Airport before picture. Those were the operations. Then we had the fire, as previously mentioned, with this monitor, screen monitor. One of the rental car companies got up into the roof, damage floor. And then we have just wrapped up the renovation. So a mere $700,000 later, luckily most of that is will be on the expense of the rental car insurances, our insurance company. But that's where we are, open and operational. A few last things to touch up.
I'd be thank you.
We have a question.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, did the rental car company spring for the extra insurance on that?
No.
I just had to take that jab. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question. With respect to there was a fire, were there any, the insurance coverage and everything, is there anything that we do to prevent happening again other than, have responsible.
Yeah,
parties, something
it
on
was
the
so
roof or something?
unusual. I mean, luckily they had security cameras at what, it was just a monitor that literally caught fire, got up in the rafters. I mean, it was very unusual circumstance.
Are we replacing the stuffs in the rafter with the same stuff that burnt?
No, I mean, luckily, all the acoustical and all that junk and the flooring and the asbestos that was in the building all had to be removed. So it was a good thing. It ended up being a positive thing. Expensive to remediate all of that, but it was done, needed to be done, had to be done. So it's forced done. But nice renovation.
Director, on the subject of the Camarillo Airport runway repairs,
Yes.
there could be a ton of heavy equipment out there. And I think you and I have talked about this. Is there any way that those people can plant the tower for the rotating beacon with an amendment to the contract?
So as Aaron had mentioned, everything's on the table. So as we go through, we'll have the set, we bid that contract. You can do add alternates or change orders. That will be something we'll explore with the company at the time and see if that's a viable option. Yes. Moving on to next item. We did have a brush fire just north of Camarillo Airport, October 29th. We're fortunate, as you've heard us talk about many times, left this Colson helicopter, which is based here at the cost to Southern California Edison here at Camarillo, twin rotor aircraft. That one dumps about 3,000 gallons of load. We also have based here the Ventura County Sheriff Fire helicopter. Both of those responded to the fire in the open field just north of this airport. And we even had, they were joined by LA County's fire response. So I had 3 helicopters fighting that fire. Luckily, those resources were here in the county and very close. Put out the fire pretty close. But got to see them in action and wanted to share that.
Mr. Perrello, there were comments on social media that they should have done the goats. Was this an area that the goats had eaten up before in brush control?
Again, it's not on the airport property, so I don't know. Most of the goats are used for things like down in canals and hard to get to areas, open fields. They
Okay.
typically aren't there, so I can't.
Okay. The second question, you said 3,000 gallons. Where do they fill it up? Was it the Las Posas Reservoir or they hose from the fire truck?
Yeah, I mean, again,
Across the street? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ron?
Thank you. And I did see comments regarding the use of the goats for the weed abatement at that open field. I didn't get to follow through on the comment myself, but I did see someone said that I believe the goats or the company that owns the goats has a social media presence and had on their schedule that they were supposed to be there in a couple weeks in the open field if it is the same place. And so there'll be less for them to eat now, I guess. But I did see that just to answer Councilmember Perrello's question there about the goats.
all right. Next item, county is currently celebrating its 150th anniversary. The airports department participated in an event in São Paulo, and Deputy Director Dave Macy and PIO attended and participated. What you have somewhere around your feed is some of the items that we're doing to get publicity and get our names out in the public. So sharing that with you, that's what that's part of. So I wanted to share that event with you that we participated with. Next item, just want to remind everybody that the terms for our 2 public members will be expiring coming up here. So we put out the typical notice for those incumbents that may want to apply and other members. And then these 2 groups will be looking at both the public member and the alternate public member, those 4 positions. And the plan at this point is to get everybody that's interested, their applications in by December 31st this year. And then at our first meeting in January on the 11th, the 2 bodies will interview, make decisions, and select those 4 positions. And then one last reminder, we typically don't meet in December. So unless there's some emergency item, at this point, we're not planning to meet in December. And that's all I have unless there's
None, thank you. And happy holidays, since we're not going to see you again until January.
the same to all of you.
And with that, any authority comments? Supervisor Long?
Yes, on Tuesday, November 7th, the Civil Air Patrol had their 75th anniversary. And so congratulations to all of them. It was a really nice night. I had staff attend, and it was just great to see that they're celebrating 75 years. Just really impressive. Also, I was fortunate to show up earlier today and wanted to ask this board in either the January or February timeframe, whatever is best for staff. I would like the board to look at the time in which we're convening these meetings based on staff's time of waiting many hours before this meeting happens, and also opportunity of our community being able to watch through Zoom. We've had many meetings lately for different authorities and so forth where they can start earlier and are still getting a good feedback from the community. And so I wanted for us to address that. It's always good to make sure we're confirming and doing the right things for all parties. And I really truly value our staff's time and our board's time, and my time has changed a little bit too for meetings. So I thought I would ask and see if we could look at that again. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands raised, no other comments? Oh, Mr. Perrello, go ahead.
Number one, I appreciate Ms. Long's comments. Just when we do this, and I hope management looks at this, there are other obligations that members of elected bodies serve and have to attend, and then immediately leave that and come here. So if we start these earlier, there might be some conflicts, or some people will not be in the same positions. The second thing, this week, a resident from Oxnard came and wanted to share her beliefs with me. I told her I listened to her for a long time. I explained things. She asked that I share the information. She is interested in Oxnard Airport becoming a central part of New York City West. And I told her I don't think, but I would share that she was very adamant in that. As Irene Ruschenberger, I respect her opinion, and I said I would share.
Comments were adjourned.